Hello everybody, welcome to another exciting and fun-filled, hair-raised, expeditious episode of Radiorama, where as I show you, as the name implies, how to work on radios and other stuff. And today we have a model unknown Airline, which is Montgomery Ward's brand of electronics, as Silvertone was for Sears. Condition unknown, do not know if it works. So I'm going to do the right thing and turn it on immediately. You should not do that, by the way. You should really bring it up on a variac. But it's a 5-tube set, and 9 times out of 10, all it's going to do is hum. Or do nothing at all. Who knows?
Slow down the magic? Sarah, nothing can slow down.
Actually, it still works. Now, I'm not sure what that means, whether or not it's been repaired or not. I would bet it's not been overhauled because it's pretty dirty, and the volume control was really dirty as well. So I guess we'll just have to take the hood off and see what's going on under there. Certainly has not been worked on in a very long time, as seen by the shit ton of dust bunnies. I'm wondering, I hope that this whole front comes pushing out of here, because what I see here are these friction clips up there. In fact, I saw one that looked like it had been broken off. These guys, they're easy to put on, but then like getting them off is a nightmare. I'm going to guess that this whole thing comes out with the cardboard and all. So I'm not going to try to remove them. I'm going to instead remove these 2 screws here on either side. See if it'll just pull out in one piece. Good Lord, I've never seen so much dust bunnies. Look at all, it's just pure dust bunny cake. Man, this thing's all original. There's nothing been done to it. It's crazy at work. You can see the innards oozing out of that one cap there. It's like its end is completely shot off. That's probably the across the line cap. What else we got in here? We got like capacitor bits and moth wings, more dust bunny material. I'm going to take this outside. If I work on this now, I'm going to be sneezing my head off all night long. But there's not much to write home to about. It is a typical 5-tube set. It's got a little bit of a nicer, beefier tuning condenser. It's probably a little more sensitive, but I'm going to take it out and get this dust bunny's stuff off there. It's supposed to rain tonight, and apparently it's going to rain really hard. We need it really badly here in this state, but I don't know. I'm a kind of a whining person about weather these days. If it rains, even though we need it really bad, it's like, oh no, rain! Well, let's try the leaf blower first. Let's see what it does, because I get a feeling it'll come right off, because I took one swipe of the brush, and it's like, well, not quite. I guess I need to come in here with the brush and at least loosen some things up a little bit. Zilch corrosion. Clearly it's been kept somewhere really good and dry, because that's just basically perfectly clean metal. By Jove, I like this project already a lot better. Nothing like working on a clean radio. There's just some that I've worked on where they look like they came out of the, I don't know, the pig feeding farm. I don't think pig feeding farms actually exist, but anyway, you get the idea. That speaker sounds funny. Never mind, it's fine. I thought it was rubbing. Anyway, both the case and the chassis are now nice and clean, so we'll take it inside and start the recapping job. Alright, well, being as disgusting as it looked, this is actually one of the cleanest condition chassis I've worked on in a while. You could just like eat off this thing. Very clean. But now it is time to start working on the chassis. And we have 2 electrolytic capacitors here. We have red and yellow lead. Yellow positive. 50 and 50 microfarads. Easy enough. We'll replace those with 2 individual electrolytic capacitors. And then beyond that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paper caps. And these two guys have their ends shooting off the ends, which makes me wonder if they're partially or mostly shorted. This is the 2 chassis ground cap. This is the other side of the AC line. And I'm seeing this, and I've seen this before. It says resonant capacitor. And I saw in Motorola did the same thing, where at the end of it there's a little coil. And I think it resonates at like 455 kc. So without it, the radio won't work right. But I think what I'll do is I'll start with the electrolytic capacitors, then clean out the rest of these other 4 and save that one till last. The other thing is I don't really like this cord. It is short, and it seems like the rubber is kind of stiff, which means it's lost a lot of its plasticizers. When you squeeze the cable and it just like stays like that, that means there's not enough plasticizer in it. It's hardening up. So we're going to replace that cord too, which is easy enough. I have lots of those laying around. If you're new to restoring radios, when you look at the paper caps, they will have the values stamped or printed on their bodies. This is 0.01 microfarads rated at 400 volts. This one says 0.05 microfarads rated at 200 volts, and we're going to replace like with like. You have some wiggle room, probably like 20 to 30%. Sometimes, honestly, these radios are not super sensitive when it comes to the values, but you should adhere within 20%. Electrolytics are at or greater capacitance, and obviously with all of these it needs to be at or greater voltage. I tend to go with much higher rated voltages than the components that came with this set were rated for. Everything I install is at 630 volts except for the AC across the line cap. That one needs to be significantly more, because if there's an incoming surge, it needs to handle it. That's probably this guy here. We need to replace this with the X2Y2 across the line cap. And again, I think there's some sort of coil inside that tube. And I'll find out when I chop it open, see what it looks like on the inside. Okay, so first things first, we get this guy out. And it's got a color code on it, yellow, red, and black. Black is negative. These two, red and yellows, they're the same value, so we're going to replace both of those with 2 of these guys. These are 47 microfarad rated caps, 160 volts max rating. And what I'm going to do is something kind of like simple. This is the common negative for both. So I'm going to attach these 2 guys, and I've kind of thickened this up with solder to make it stiff. We'll attach the negatives here, and then we'll run the existing yellow and red jumper wires to their 2 positives. And we'll do this first, and it'll make it easier for me to get to that one and that one. And go ahead and clear these 2 guys out as well. This is not a complicated set, not a whole heck of a lot going on for sure. Alright, I'm partially through the recap. Check out these caps. Like that end's completely shot out of there. Clearly melted. Ew. This one's just as bad or worse. Ugh. I'm amazed the radio worked. These are both completely blown. Anyway, we've got 3 more caps to replace, and as I mentioned, I'm going to wait to replace this one last. I also put my new cord in, and I used the old plug that was actually still on it. Okay, well, I've replaced everything except for the resonant capacitor. Sprague. I'm going to guess that it's on this end. Probably the chassis ground side. But I'm going to use a knife to cut it open. Just cut this cardboard open and peel it back and see what we got. Well, so far I'm not finding anything unusual about it. It looks like a regular capacitor to me. I've already destroyed this guy, so there's no going back now. I'm going to replace that with a X2Y2 across the line safety cap so that this chassis will not be as hot as it was. Fingers crossed. I get a feeling it's not going to work now. I don't know what the resonant capacitor is supposed to mean, because I replaced it with the regular cap and it's fine. It's not great. It seems like it's really out of alignment, but the radio's still working. Let's see if we can touch these guys up a little bit. Let's make sure our tubes have good connections.
Worth the risk for the live reps and get that momentum heading into the playoffs rather than the team has so many expectations. Make sure that's what they need. Back out there. If you're 6.5 points home against
I'm beginning to think that actually that resonant capacitor meant something. It's not very good reception. Now, granted, I haven't tested any of the tubes, but something sounds funny. It sounds like there's something definitely going askew here. So I snipped that one wire, and it did kill radio. Just hear a little bit of a buzz. That's what we want. Now that means we can interrupt the radio to add the audio through. So yeah, we're going good so far. Okay, I do have success here. Here's the transformer installed. We have one side going to the top of the volume pot here. It's like Dr. Seuss Day. And the negative goes to the negative side here. Then we have our splitting resistors for our right and left channels for incoming audio and negative. And we have our knot tied with a little grommet here. Whoops, it's about to fall off the shelf. And we have the switch wire running back here. It's intentionally long, but it seems to be working good. Had a little bit of crackles. I had some dirt in the volume pot that I had to take care of, but it's working good. Before I move on from the chassis, I am going to heat up the hot glue gun and glue this back down. This style of antenna tends to come delaminated, and if you break any of that fragile copper stuff, like, it's very difficult to fix. So I'm going to go ahead and future-proof that with adding some glue. Okay, now that the electronics is done, I'm going to buff up the case. I'm going to use my little wax applicator that I recently discovered. This thing sure saves my hands. And I'm going to use old-fashioned Meguiar's Carnauba car wax. And the finish on this is definitely not perfect. I think that's okay. Speaking of finishing, I found these chairs on the side of the road. And I stripped them down. Well, actually, the paint was missing completely. It was crappy paint. And I primed, cleaned, and painted them. They look pretty good. Nice Adirondack chairs. Alright, well, she's done. I got all that polishing done. Yeah, it's got a few scratches and stuff, but whatever, it's old. Doesn't have to be perfect. And I've got my Bluetooth running through it, and it sounds mighty nice, in my opinion anyway, for whatever it is. The backlight is definitely cool. I bet at night this looks really nice. Alright guys, as usual, I really appreciate each and every one of you who watch this channel. I know that I tend to ramble a lot, and so thanks for putting up with me. Alright, until the next time a radio comes across the workbench, I'll see you guys next time. Adios.